As like creatives, the greater kind of musicians, dancers, artists, poets, whatever, we're tapping into something that's different, you know. Like there's times where you're in the studio and you get in that kind of flow state, and you lose track of time. You forget to eat and stuff. It's there's something there. Like it's hard to explain. It really is. But maybe that's the thing. A lot of artists chase that kind of where your mind just switches off from the world, you know, and you just create, and then you come out of this kind of like not trance, but you're like, wow, you know, next time you come into the studio, you're like, I made this, you know.
We finally made it.
I know.
And how long have we been speaking now? Since
Good few months.
Since March?
Aye.
Nice, man. So can you introduce yourself?
Yep.
Tell us a little bit about who you are and the kind of work that you create.
Yeah. Iain Brown, abstract artist. Started as a printmaker, but after art school, kind of just graduated into painting because it was an easy kind of transition. Plus, print studio was really expensive, so couldn't afford to just mess around in the print studio. So all my kind of peers around me in the studio upstairs, they were all painters, so it was just a kind of next step for me to do, start painting and kind of experimenting, you know. And then trying to find my own language was a tricky one, you know. Even now I think like some of the work's similar to other work or older work, and I'm always getting inspired by my old pieces and then trying to imagine what the new work's going to look like, you know. But it's tricky. Like people say to me, I can look at your work and know it's a Iain Brown, whereas for me I'm like, this is slightly different, or that's different, you know. And it's just trying to bring it into my own language, you know. That's what my tutor said. He was like, I know what your work's about, I know your language, but I'll let you find out, and it might take you 5 years, it might take you 15, but you'll find it. So slowly getting there, bringing things together, you know.
But do you feel like you're a bit of a perfectionist then?
I used to be. At art school I thought it was all about like the perfect final piece rather than the process, and then during like my 5 years at art school, my tutor Michael Agnew said, you guys from Scotland, South Ayrshire are very precious about your work, and see, as soon as he said that, total flip. So I was just, the end of semester, I would just chuck all my work away and then start from scratch. So I think that's maybe why I've picked up this reusing things. I don't like chucking a lot away. I always find stuff and then implement it into the work. So if an artist's maybe thrown away a rag, I'll take it, cut it up, add it to my work, you know. So the repurposing, that started to come into the work quite heavily, and then I've diverted a little bit away from that. So yeah, it's changing all the time, you know. I have cut things up and they're in piles, you know, but a bit of collage might not find a paint until 4 years down the line. You never really know. So but I've just unstretched some massive paintings that were done like 3 years ago, and I know for a fact I'm going to cut them down to make smaller versions.
Yes.
But I'll work back into them, because is a piece always finished? I don't know. Some pieces are. They're finished a lot sooner. Some I feel like I can add more to it and elevate it, but that's actually living with the painting for maybe 3 years in the space, just always rotating. And I'm like, right, that obviously hasn't sold, but I want to chop it, change it, and then see where it goes from there. So yeah. So when I was younger, I'd always go walks with my pap and the dogs. And you would always see, like, I'm from a small fishing village called Girvan. There was always sign writers on the boats, you know, so I'd always walk past, we'd talk to the guy, blah, 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 blah. And then I think that was the first kind of spark of an artist, you know. But at the time I wouldn't even have thought that was just a guy painting the name on the side of a boat. And then going forward, it was just at high school, I was good at art, or got told I was good at art, and then that's where I kind of wanted to push. And then my portfolio got chucked out, so I was like, I give up, can't do this anymore. Like whole school term, portfolios in the bin, can't go. And then my friends were like, just go to college. And I applied to Ayr College, and I went to the interview without a portfolio. Everyone around me's got portfolios, and I'm sitting there with nothing, apart from a wee thing of my English, So I went in and the tutor, I guess, she was like, come back in a month's time with a sketchbook of drawings. Done that, you know. So that was the kind of, I started looking at things differently around my hometown and just drawing. A lot of still lifes, obviously, but that was it. And then boom, into college, and my whole world flipped, because from high school to there, it's a total jump, you know. And at school, it didn't really get pushed. You could even only become an artist or a teacher, and that was the push we got. But at college, it was just like the doors open. You can do anything you want, and that's what I liked, and that's what kind of drew me. Well, one of my tutors, he's retired now, Alan Watson. He came and done an interview about the art school, Grays, and I fell in love with the building, and it was his passion about the building that drew me to Grays, you know. So I wanted to do printmaking at Grays and applied for printmaking. Obviously, we went, me and my friend Aidan, who I spoke to you about earlier on, we travelled up our portfolios for college, all the way from Ayr up to Aberdeen, done an interview, we were like, wow. But at the time, both wanted to do painting, you know. Painting or printmaking. I know that Glasgow School of Art, they'd done painting and printmaking. We thought Grays was kind of going to be the same, wasn't. So painting was 4 years, then printmaking was 4 years, but then by the time we got to there, it became CAP, Contemporary Art Practice, so they kind of got rid of it as just printmaking. So focused on that. That was what I wanted to do. So I was like, I'll do CAP and do sculpture, moving image, photography, printmaking, to then focus on printmaking my 3rd and 4th year. So that's what kind of drew me to it. And just the building, the Robert Gordon University campus, and then you've got Grays out in the forest, absolutely stunning, you know. Yeah. So the masters happened during degree show. So we were having our degree, and then one of the tutors asked us, anyone doing a masters? And we were like, no, we're going to go into the big bad art world. And then they basically said, this year SAS will pay for your masters. So we were like, oh, cool, nice. And then we'd have thought about it, and I think maybe like 5 or 6 of us then went on to do the masters. But for me, it was just, I felt it was just getting my fingers into like printmaking at that point after the 4 years, well, the 3rd and 4th year, sorry. So I felt like I needed another year, and this masters was basically a studio-based masters with a dissertation, rather than a heavy kind of thesis dissertation style, you know. So we had the whole run of the school. I was using all the machines that I could to develop my practice. So it was printmaking, painting, like I was using CNC machines to do drawings that I'd already done. So I would draw, put in a program, put in a CNC machine, that would carve into wood, then I would roll it and print it. So it was like man plus machine, and that's what my master's was about, like the human analog into digital, you know. So I didn't really go any further after art school, because I've not got access to laser printers, CNC machines, just stuff like that. So yeah, but it was just how to, like for me, it was mark making. So I think that's been passed into the next stage. So my paintings are all about mark making, you know.
Sick.
Yeah.
Sounds so.
It was class. It was good.
Child in a sweet.
Oh yeah, I was literally. I think they hated me because I was just in all the time. But why wouldn't you be? You know, literally. So at art school, obviously, there's stuff about, you know, for reclaiming, and at my degree show, I was not jumping in, but like going into the skip where all the first years would throw away their kind of wooden kind of mixing pallets. I would take them out, kind of clean them, and then start reclaiming them and hanging them in nice manners, you know, and then using that to influence other work. But I think that was it, just the whole kind of scavenger culture at art school. But I heard back in the day, if a canvas was sitting stretched perfect to go, it would be stole by the time you got there because you've not used it quick enough. So it wasn't that, it was more like people throwing away the materials that I can see value in, you know, and then that just came about. But after art school, it was an error. There was a framer that had made my stretchers wrong, so I had to adapt, you know. So that's when I was like, right, I can put collage around this to hide the framing of when I'm painting. And I'd done it, and that just progressed it, and I just fell in love with the kind of reclaiming, kind of puzzle, kind of jigsaw of collage, and then I could work back into it to make it a cohesive painting, you know.
When you begin a new piece,
Yeah.
do you start with like a clear vision, or do you prefer to let the materials and the process kind of guide you?
So when I start a painting, it's very it depends on the day, like the feeling, the mood, the weather as well. Like there's days where I'm straight in and it's go, or there's other times where I'm looking around the studio and I'm taking inspiration from like the red here or like this, you know. It's a tricky one. Like people don't like a blank page, you know, in a sketchbook. It's kind of similar on a canvas, but I try to kind of get rid of that whiteness as soon as possible to then be like, right, cool, I can see the vision, or I'm going to limit myself to just using different ranges of blues in a painting, you know, putting kind of boundaries on a thing. But there's the opposite where I can go very hectic with collage. I can put 100 bits of collage in and try and figure it out that way. So there's two ways I do it, and it's very sporadic in the moment. There's always going to be errors and mistake in the work, you know, and I'm not too precious about a mistake happening. I kind of welcome it massively, and obviously with reclaiming collage or cut up elements, there's loads of mistakes. There's rags that are on the floor and you're standing in them. It's building up kind of history that way. So for me, I welcome any mistake in the work. Obviously when you're focusing on something that you don't want a mistake and it happens, you're kind of like bugger, you know. So, but my favourite painting it took me a full year to make, but there must have been thousands of mistakes in it. But it was maybe like 6 paintings prior to getting to the final stage, you know, and that sat in my studio for 5 years. So I knew that it was my most important piece. It's not sold, but it's in a gallery, so I'm happy for it to be there rather than sitting in the studio, because I've lived with it long enough. I feel like people need to see it, you know, and they might see all these layers and history of maybe like a mistake, but they won't know it's a mistake. I probably won't even know anymore because it's been that long, you know. I won't be able to remember this stain here was a mistake due to X, Y, or Z. I've spilt something, you know. And it's like on social media you see the final piece, you don't see the time before it. Same with people who are following you, they see the highlights, they don't see the struggles, they don't see right, I've got no money to buy materials, so I just need to unstretch and use something else, you know. So like that piece there, it's like my trousers, 3 years of painting on them, and someone said you should turn it into painting. Just chopped them up and turned them into painting, you know. So
sick.
But it's manky, but I love it, you know what I mean. So
they've just never been washed.
They actually haven't been washed. So if anyone bought it, get a Perspex frame to put inside, you know, or like they can clone me or something from it, you know. I'll always kind of big up my peers and people I've went to college with, you know. So Aidan Milligan, Edinburgh-based artist now, brilliant. David Ray, incredible landscape artist. Jack Dunnett, he's down in London now. Hugh Morton, Hugh's back up in Scotland. Yeah, Anthony doesn't make any work anymore, but he's very passionate about art. Bigger artists, Edinburgh-based, Stephen Cox, Kevin Harmon, Mark Purvis as well. Just people that are doing stuff, you know, just so passionate about what they're doing, and just keep on going, you know. And these are people that I've hung out with, I've went to shows with, and they're just, you feel like part of a little kind of community, you know, which I don't feel like in Glasgow. I don't feel part of the Glasgow scene. Like, I've just made my own wee thing with people that I appreciate and I love their work, you know. So yeah, it's the art world, you know. There's so many little cliques and pockets. It's just you need to find your kind of people, and just if there's people that are passionate about work as much as I am, that is my gang, you know what I mean? So yeah, everyone's getting doubts, you know what I mean? I think social media is like a massive factor in that. You're comparing yourself to millions of people that look like they're doing better than you because they're posting the highlights of their art life, you know. I can post a finished painting in an exhibition and people will be like, wow, like, you're doing amazing, but like I said, they might not see the zero balance in the bank account, or you've got stretchers sitting there that you've got no money to buy canvas for, you know, it's just stuff like that. But yeah, it's tricky. It's a tricky world. Advice for the younger generation. When I graduated art school, I contacted 100 artists, right? I just don't know why I done it at Instagram. Contacted people that I looked up to, that I hadn't spoke to before, just bigger artists that were doing things and they were doing well. And I'd only heard back from, I think it was less than 5 in the span of a couple months, and that was very underwhelming. You know, I thought like it was going to be very open, the art world, like art school was very, people would help each other, but nah, the big bad art world, definitely not. But so when anyone asks me for help, I'll always give them like 5, 10, 15 minutes or longer, you know. I'll talk to people. If people need advice, people have came to me about, is this a scam? Because I saw you post something a year ago about a scam email. So I'm willing to help people, you know, and I think just keep doing it, you know. There's going to be tough days where you feel like you're not doing well, you know. You just need to get past those days. Even for me, it's like there's days I don't want to come to the studio because I'm so burnt out from work, but I come, you know, and I don't have to make a painting. I just kind of clean my space, move things, change the paintings on the walls. You're still in the space, you're still doing something creative, you know. You're thinking subconsciously about maybe the next thing when you come back into the space. So I would say to any young person, just find your wee group of people that you feel that are elevating you, you know. Don't be around people that are going to bring you down, because you'll get that and their negativity will lead on to you and it'll bring you down. So if you hang about with creative people, you're going to feel elevated, you know. They'll help you, and just go into the studio. If you don't have a studio, just sketchbook, go out, paint, go to shows, be around the arts, you know. So yeah, that's that, you know. What keeps me going? I just don't know what the next painting is going to look like, which excites me massively, you know. It's yeah, it's unknown, you know. For me, it's I don't know what colour I'm going to use. I don't know what's going to inspire me. I don't know how the painting's going to end. Like, I always title my paintings at the very end, so I don't know how it's going to go, and I deliberately don't title them because I feel like that would dictate how a painting will change, you know. But yeah, it's the scale. Like, I could be working A5, I could be working 2 meters. I don't know. That's the exciting part for me, and you just don't know what opportunities are coming. But that's why you need to keep on doing it, you know. You need to keep making and putting the work out there. It might take years. Like I said, some paintings in the studio have never been exhibited, and then they've been destroyed, and then they go into new paintings that then might be exhibited. So it's just one of those things where if you want to be an artist, you need to keep doing it, you know. And my tutor Mike Wagner said 5 years after art school you can call yourself an artist. So yeah, that was my first goal. 5 years out of art school, boom, right, I'm an artist, cool. But I knew I was an artist. I just like that kind of goal to hit the 5 years, because people give up. It's tough, you know. Like, one person scamming you, that can totally be like, right, I'm done, I can't do this anymore. So there's hurdles, and you need to jump over the hurdles as best as possible. But if you fall, you just need to get back up, you know. That's what I've done. There's been scams, there's been like sales that have fell through, there's people that have took advantage of my paintings and then not paid me and then just told me to sell it to someone else. Just stuff like that, you know. It's hard, it's difficult, and there's been times where you hit mental blocks all the time, but I think it's the world around us, you know. I try not to get too tapped into Instagram and whatever other social medias, because you do get sucked straight into it, and you post something that you've been making for months and no one sees it, and it's only because of the algorithm. So, and then that puts you in a downward spiral of my work's not good enough, and then you need to try and dig yourself out of that, you know. So social media is maybe a bit detrimental to that creative process, you know. Whereas getting in this space, like, I'll just put music on, music podcast, to try and get into that mindset of just, I'm creating, I'm listening to music, the marks are dictating by the music notes and stuff, you know. So it's all interlinked. I think, you know.